Our first virtual program visit will be at Sherwood High School with Allison Meadows and Liberty Seal. Ladies, I'll turn it over to you.
6, any other information?
Okay. I'm Liberty Seal. I'm one of the newer of the two agriculture science teachers at Sherwood High School. This is my second year teaching.
Allison Meadows. This is my 12th year here at Sherwood High School. I taught 1 year in LeGrand, and I've been here ever since. This is our second year, 2.5 years in this current building. We had a bond that passed a long while ago, and it's been like a 2-year process to get a completed build. But this is probably like our second full school year in this building. And so hopefully we'll give you guys a tour of the space. Maybe you'll hear what we like and what we don't like. But we know a lot of people are getting Pathways dollars, Revi grants, that kind of stuff. And so hopefully our space can be maybe a little bit of a learning curve for people or inspiration to some people. And as we kind of navigate and figure out how to use the space, we've added Liberty in the same time. And so we've been able to expand a lot of the stuff that we offer. So that's been kind of cool. We'll talk about a little bit about what we just do in general for our curriculum, and then we'll kind of walk you guys through our space. I am strictly teaching welding now. I'm a full-time welding. I have 3 different levels of welding 1, 2, and then a metal fab class. Next year, we're adding an advanced welding techniques class, so we can do a lot more flex core and TIG welding. But we walk students through the basic of stick, MIG, TIG, flex core with the project-based stuff. But they get like a pretty good hands-on approach in our new space. And outside of that, we have a small engines class, so we have another instructor that teaches. But outside of that, I'm just doing welding right now. Liberty's taking over all the ag stuff, so I'll let her talk about some of the ag courses that she talks about.
Yeah, so I teach a little bit of everything. I do teach a welding 1 class, so I get in the shop just a little bit. But my main focus is on the ag side. So I teach intro to ag, animal science, vet science, greenhouse A, greenhouse B, advanced horticulture, forestry and wildlife. I might be teaching a middle school ag class this spring. Still a little up in the air. It's 5 weeks away, but yep. And I don't know if I'm going to be teaching it yet or not, but we'll see. I think that's it. And so at our school, it's a little bit like a candy bowl option of picking your courses to do the ag pathway. So to complete the pathway, you just kind of pick a myriad of courses. I have a couple classes that have some prereqs, like in order to take vet science, you have to take animal science. In order to take greenhouse, you have to take intro to ag. But for the most part, kids can just kind of pick what they're interested in, or they can dabble in all different areas, and then they can complete the pathway that way.
We're on a trimester system. I don't know how many schools are still on a trimester, but we offer a lot of electives courses at our high school. And so for our community, getting a big smattering of lots of different types of classes is really important. We're making a shift now to talk more about pathways and getting into apprenticeship programs and trade school opportunities, which is a really exciting place for us to be. So they're putting a lot more emphasis on pathways. So we're hoping that, I think especially with Liberty's ag stuff, that we can add, it's like an actual pathway instead of this candy bowl effect. Because I think what we're finding as we navigate in that, it becomes challenging as an FFA program to then have continuity with kids. We might have them their freshman year, first trimester, and then not even again until sophomore year, their 3rd trimester. So sometimes it becomes challenging for scheduling, but our community and our school has always had a priority of let's get kids into every type of electives we can, and get them exposed to a lot of different types of careers. And we're seeing a shift now where we want a lot more depth into courses. So that's been kind of a cool shift from our administration to see that, and hopefully that can help ground and grow the FFA stuff. But we're noticing that as a big hiccup with building an FFA program. I think that's all the curriculum stuff, class stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, FFA stuff.
I think last year was kind of a rebuilding year a little bit for our chapter. We started out the year with 4 officers and just a smattering of a few students who kind of consider themselves FFA members. And this year we've got a pretty big team. We have 7 people, 8 people. I lose track. but
Yeah, yeah.
you've got a bunch of officers.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of students who are still just getting familiar with FFA since it is still kind of a building year. But a lot broader interest, I think, like from different students that
Mhm.
we aren't necessarily our traditional students. So that's been kind of neat. And we're still working on increasing attendance and consistency of attendance. So we're still kind of finding who we are now with as an FFA chapter, I'd say.
Yeah. We're trying to embrace the mullet militia, but also
Keep them from scaring everyone off.
yeah, that's I don't know if anyone else has the issue, but we do. So yeah, that's kind of a good summary. As we walk around, we'll highlight some stuff that we might do that might be different, or maybe everyone else does. We just don't hear about it very often, but we'll share some stuff that we do. And we'll show you guys some stuff out in the greenhouse and outside the greenhouse that Liberty's been working on. So you're gonna start in the classrooms.
Sure.
Cool box of a classroom. Let me see. So high tech.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So every one of the shops that we have in our facility has a gigantic classroom space, which is really great for teaching and having kind of an extra space to kind of stash children. And all of our spaces also have like an attached office. So inside the classroom, I have my own office that is also adjoined to the shop. Kind of makes it easy to be able to navigate both spaces. But as we enter the welding shop, it's about 100 feet long by 30 feet wide, which is plenty of space for all the stuff that we have. I mean, we would always want more space if we could have it. That just means more sawdust and stuff to clean up. But we got a lot of storage in our spaces, a lot of room to put lots of gear and lots of welders. We have more welders than we do booths. So I'll show you in a minute in the tool room, but we have like 15 welders in the tool room that we can't put in a booth. So we made it really versatile. When I put the plan into design, every booth, just walk you into a booth really fast. Every arc welding booth, I'm hoping I'm walking into a clean booth right now. It's they're brave. No, I didn't. Oh, they cleaned it. Every booth has all the gases plumbed into it. I asked for extra because I know that when you try to get plumbing later, it doesn't always work. So I asked for everything. So I have all the gases plumbed into every booth. We have elephant trunks or snorkels in every booth for exhaust systems. And then a pretty good workspace. There's enough space to have probably 2 or 3 students in here and to do a student teacher demo. So we have 15 of those booths that go the whole length of the shop, and which makes it really easy for student management. You can see how many sets of feet are in each booth, who's striking an arc, who's just kind of wasting time sitting on a stool. So those are all the booths. And we have also, we do a lot of oxyacetylene welding in here, mostly to preface some TIG welding skills that we get later on. That was something that PCC really pushed me to do, was to focus on OA as a preface to TIG. So we've been doing that. And then we've got 5, right now we have 5 MIG booths wired up, but we can make any booth anything. So we just have to hook up a quick connect to that particular booth. And then we can do TIG, MIG, or stick in any booth. But we have any sort of fabrication tool that you might imagine, sheet metal stuff. We do plate up to 3/4 of an inch thick. So we have all the material to be able to cut that. We have a great storage space. I don't know how I got so lucky because the wood shop did not get so lucky. But we have a great storage space for all of our machines. Like I said, we don't have enough booths for all the machines. So we have all the machines stored back here along with student projects. And lots of storage for consumables, wire rods, anything you might imagine. We're still in the organizing and using phase, but we recently have been using a lot more sheet metal stuff. So we had this awesome sheet metal shear that they told me to do my Christmas list. So I gave my Christmas list, and this tool has probably been my most favorite that I've got to use this year. Getting students to understand shop layout and project layout. The sheet metal shear has been tremendous for that. But everything else is, I feel like, standard for a shop. We have an arc light table that kids that just finally figured out how to use have been using pretty heavily. We have our plasma cam table. We got a powder coating oven recently. And kids have just been working on some fab projects, but lots of space for all kinds of storage. Want to walk outside? We'll walk you guys outside. What's really cool, every morning the sun comes up directly outside of that window. So you can see the sun come up every morning if you're here.
Not great in my classroom because one kids sit in front of the window.
Yeah, in the teaching classroom, it's not the greatest, but we have this really cool outside lab space.
What do you
That
call this? The CTE compound?
CTE compound. We stole that from Central. Gas storage is outside. Also nice and safe. It would have been really smart to have this covered. You'd think living in Oregon, it would rain a lot and you would cover this. They don't. So it's just open space, but our greenhouse is right outside of the compound with another fenced area outside. But then we're right next door to the ag room. Liberty's classroom is. I'll let her kind of tour you guys around that space. Sure.
So this is the classroom, also a huge classroom. I hate the ceiling. One, because all the heat rises up there and it's freezing down here. Two, because sound carries very poorly in this room. So when I'm standing up here at the front of the classroom, I feel like I have to yell in order for students to hear me in toward the back here. It's just not great for sound movement. I think that might just be the layout of the classroom, but we do have these super awesome speakers that line the classroom, and I have a little microphone that I can wear, which I feel like is a little cheesy when I actually wear it, but I do sometimes. We've got a whole bunch of lab supplies and storage. Right now I have some microscopes out because we've been doing some labs, but we've got all kinds of shelves and things. Speaking of storage, we've got next to our cool FFA wall here, we've got this big closet that says fire riser room, no storage, but here we are. So we've got this really cool floral cooler, which we are hopefully going to use in a couple months. I'll show you our cut tulip project that I started last term. Our intro to ag students started. So the idea is we'll have fresh cut flowers in here starting in about 2 months or so. And we'll be able to sell them here out of the classroom. In a dream world, we've talked a lot about having a table right here, having this kind of our officer workstation. So that's in the works. We'll probably get something like that eventually. And I think that's about it for the classroom. I can take you out to the greenhouse next. So we're going back out to the CTE compound. Look at that, I even turned the heat on for you. So I had students set up some of the baskets. I think they're going to find that this was a little haphazard and they don't have a whole lot of room for planting tomorrow. But we have all these really awesome tables. A lot of them roll. So when you push them, they can move from side to side. And that's kind of helpful when we're doing some management. It's nice to be able to just move them a little bit one way or another. We've got a ton of tables, obviously. Allison can probably tell you a little bit more about the intentions of the design of this greenhouse, because I know she was really involved with that. But we've got our cooling system on the back wall. We don't really have a great spot for storage of things. So right now you can see most of our containers and things are just kind of piled up in the back. So we're still trying to figure out a good solution for that. Allison, did you want to share anything about the design and setup of the greenhouse?
They didn't ask really what I wanted a whole lot other than what I wanted in addition. It's the same size as our old greenhouse. We had a 30 by 100 greenhouse last round at what is now the middle school. So the middle school has a pretty awesome greenhouse. But we kept the concrete floors. They put in the cooling pad in the back because we just need to be able to keep our opportunities to set the cooler, works a lot better. But everything else is about the same. We have the same ventilation system. We have a lot more electricity and a lot more water lines, so we have a lot more plumbing in here. But so far it's been working okay. We did learn that they built it the wrong direction. It's supposed to face north-south, not east-west, so.
So the sun comes
Interesting.
in on this side, and there's not a whole lot of it. So we found that it's best to keep our vegetables on the side here. We've played with the idea of putting in some lights, at least for starting our vegetables. So I don't know, I might set some up for this year and see how it goes. Yeah, light's kind of an issue.
I think the good thing about our greenhouse though is that it is the closest thing to the road, and closest thing to 99. So it's super highlighted in front of the community. It's in our old school. It was behind the high school and no one knew it existed. Now it's really obvious where we're at. So I think for plant sale, we have a way better location to sell product. We just have to figure out how to grow more in the same amount of space. But that's where we're hoping that Liberty, adding that middle school class, can utilize more of that space if we can gather that back, so that hopefully we can have essentially a greenhouse and a half or 2 greenhouses to grow more plants. The greenhouse has been growing things pretty well. We're just trying to fine tune the electrical system. That took a while to figure out.
Yeah.
To get all the exhaust fans figured out. Construction of a greenhouse isn't the simplest thing ever. So,
But we did okay last year. So I come from industry and a plant science background. So I used to work with nurseries and help pretty good eye for pest problems. And we didn't have a whole lot last year. When we did, we were able to get on top of them pretty quickly. So I attribute controlled, keep the plants happy. You check out the tulips. So last round tulips, we partnered with Wooden Shoe Tulip Farms. And when I say partnered with, they gave us a big discount on some tulip bulbs, and they came in about planting tulips, and then they hosted us for a field trip. So then Intro to Ag was responsible for planting about 2,700 tulip bulbs. We did a few in containers. A couple of these are daffodils in containers, but most of them are tulips. We did a few in containers just to see how they did, see how they sold. We'll probably sell the containers online. And then when these cut tulips grow, we're going to come out and harvest them, put them in that floral cooler I showed you earlier, and we'll sell them right out of our classroom. We might try selling some online also. Greenhouse right now, one of their projects that they're working on is developing a marketing plan that we're going to use at a state convention, also marketing ideas. So see, we've got a couple that are just starting, so it's just starting to warm up a little bit. You'll notice that they're planted in trays, which you've maybe never seen before. This is kind of odd. Normally you'd put them in the ground, right? So if you've ever been to Wooden Shoe Tulip Farms, you'll notice they're all in the fields. We don't really have great equipment or land to work the soil and do them in the ground. So instead they suggested we use these trays, and they were pretty easy. You just plant about 2 inches of soil, and then you place your bulbs. You plant them really close together, within like a half an inch of each other. They like to be planted really close together. You top the rest off with soil, and then you sprinkle a little layer of sand on top. So the sand on top is to help with some of that drainage on the top layer. Tulips can get gray mold and some other diseases. And so having that extra drainage on top keeps that from forming on top of the soil. So I think we have one variety over here so these will be some of our first ones probably. So yeah, you'll have to keep on the lookout for some of our marketing. Don't really know what all that's gonna look like yet, but we're gonna start pretty soon with it. These have been pretty fun, and if you can't quite see, you keep the trays off the ground so that the tulips don't root into the rocks, which would not be ideal. And also just give them some agri-science project out of repropagating the tulip bulbs after they're cut. I know you can only do it a couple times before the bulbs kind of lose energy and you don't get very big flowers. But I would be curious to see if we could get away with reusing bulbs a little bit. Okay, anything else?
I think so.
Kind of cold out here.
This reading. I would say like the front of the school is that we have a great view. We're not in the back, shoved in the back like most CTE programs. They put us in the front. We have these like amazing retention ponds, which our science department adores and loves, and we definitely could find use with our wildlife and forestry kids. So there's plenty of space out here for us to be able to utilize. We just are right now working on just trying to figure out how to utilize this new space that we have so far. So that's where we're at. Outside of that, I don't think we have. Thanks, Phil. Outside of that, I mean, there you can see like our school in the background outside of our facility. We are in a really high profile spot just in terms of the high school. So people get a lot more visibility because there's all the sports teams have to walk by our greenhouse to get to any sporting event in the stadium. So we feel pretty lucky that our community will be able to support us in that way. So we're looking forward to the spring when we have a lot of stuff for our community to purchase. But outside of that, we're just trying to connect with more community members. We have an amazing career center person who has been connecting with us with lots of new employers, people who can connect kids to jobs. So that's been a really big push for our whole CTE department. And we're definitely a big part of that. And it definitely helps having Liberty on hand to just relay all of the industry stuff. I think that makes the learning more relevant for our students. Something that I feel like I couldn't provide, like she gets to provide. So I think that we're doing the stuff that balances each other to make our individual curriculums better, but to make our program better. So I think that's all we have to share. But we're looking forward to just kind of figuring out how to use our space better, more efficiently, and just kind of keep growing that FFA stuff.
Are there any questions from anybody on the call? We have a couple on. Lynn and Phil are on.
Lynn
here.
and Phil.
So I would have killed for a facility like that. Allison, how did you guys engineer that kind of really great facility?
I don't know if it was well, I did feel like an engineer when we were building it. I'd say one, our community is super supportive of CTE. So anything CTE wants, whether it's ag, welding, anything, they're going to be super supportive. We're in the middle of trying to pass a bond levy as well. And CTE and career stuff is on the docket to kind of help sell that. And we know that that is a big push for our community. So I think it was like a no-brainer that they were going to put a ton of money into CTE. They on purpose put the CTE wing in the front of the school by the student and staff parking lot to highlight CTE, which we curse a little bit because we have to keep our space really neat and tidy. That's not always ideal when you're in a manufacturing or greenhouse space, but it's been great. Like I think that our community really, they may not do they don't know what we do every day as a teacher or in a classroom, but they support the trades. This community is a traditional blue collar community. So I think that all of our parents stem from that. We have a lot of students who are going into the trades. That's been a big refocus for our area, but it took a lot of years of planning. Automated systems, vents open when you don't want them to. It took a lot. It was 2 years of planning before we even started building. But they, unlike any other program, we kind of got a little bit of a special treatment because I think a lot of their building, they didn't know how to build an ag program or a welding facility. That was new to the architecture firm. So they really leaned heavily on us to do a lot of the investigating and digging. And so if I wanted an outlet every 10 feet, I got one because they really didn't question it. They didn't really know. In fact, I think we got too many power outlets sometimes, but like wherever we wanted something, like we could have it, which is then on the flip side of that, you don't know what you don't know. So hopefully this is a tool for other people to see, oh, this is what I would want, or this is what I for sure don't want. So I think that was a big learning curve for us, but we got a lot of control over a lot of the facility. But we were lucky to be highlighted in front of the building, I think, is the biggest part of our success. Yeah. But Phil, it's not easy to maintain a large facility either. So I think they built it, but they don't think about the maintenance that goes into it. Or when they give you like 20 brand new welders, they don't think about like all the new consumables and all the new parts you have to order, and you have new part numbers you have to order from. And it's just a big learning curve when we moved into the new building. And I'm still learning a lot about it.
Do you get general custodial support, maintenance support for the compound, or are you pretty much on your own?
I'd say, I mean, I do a lot of the stuff for the shop, but we get a lot of maintenance support. I think they want to take care of the new building, so they have an extra man or another person available to kind of help with stuff. Like I can't run the ventilation system in the welding shop. That's above my pay grade. I can't wire some stuff in the shop. So we get quite a bit of support there. But when it came to like the tables in the greenhouse, that was just like unloaded on a pallet and we just built them. So
They're all student built. They're a
Yeah.
little questionable.
Yeah. So there's some things that they just consider student labor is better than paying people, but we get both. If we want to do it, we can, but I try to hire out as much as possible.
This is a little bit minor, but on like the custodial side, something that I don't know if it was thought about is the greenhouse is on the opposite side of the school from the dumpsters. So anytime we have soil that we need to get rid of, I gotta load it up in the pickup, have a kid meet me on the other side of the school, drive on the road all the way around to finally be able to do it. And then it's just a huge pain in the butt.
Yeah, there's no semi turnaround on our space. So we also have to be thoughtful about what deliveries we get. Because trucks can only be so big, otherwise they don't fit, they won't turn around. That's something we brought up, but we couldn't change because of the location of the retention ponds. So we just kind of make it work. A forklift would be nice. That would be nice. That would be really nice. That's on our next list of things to buy. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Super
All
cool
right.
facility there, Allison.
Thanks, boss. I've seen your guys' greenhouse. It looks pretty awesome as well. It's a big
Ooh.
learning curve.
That it is. It's not
not
quite done yet, but it'll be done by next week because we have plants coming in.
good.
So
Good. I can't tell people enough that to have a greenhouse architect who you can sit down with and talk about what you want to do and what your intentions are, and then they can just do it for you. Because I sat down with like a regular architect who didn't know anything about greenhouses, and we ended up with about 25 power drops out of the ceiling that we didn't need because they thought we had student work tables, like a classroom in here. So there's just certain things that a greenhouse architect would be like. I mean, they should get paid more to do the stuff that they do because it definitely
they're
helps.
a lifesaver.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They're masters of their craft. They know how to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Any questions from you, Lynn?
But you never have too many outlets in your shop.
No, I don't have enough. I didn't ask for 110s because I thought there was a code that said you had to have so many per so many feet. So I didn't ask for them. I have
There is
2
a code
walls
of that,
without 110. No, there's
What?
certainly not. No, I don't have any 110s on like 2 walls.
Huh.
Yep.
I thought they had to be
No.
every 8 feet.
Yep. Nope.
I'll be darned.
If they do, they did it wrong. But I have so much area. I have a lot of aerial drops in the shop, which is really nice. I don't have a lot along the wall, so that's okay. I just have cords running out of the ceiling.
Yeah.
Which is nice. We have 220 drops in a couple spots in the shop, so we can run welders anywhere, and that's kind of convenient.
Mhm.
Cool.
Allison,
Anything else?
any other advice you would give anybody that's looking at building another facility? Whether that's greenhouse or remodeling a shop, as you guys have recently done kind of both.
I think it's probably like the most important thing I think is to build it with like long-term in mind. Like I had to think about like, this is going to be a shop for like 40, 50, 60 years. What is it going to take to make that valid in the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years? So I wanted to make it as kind of basic as possible. I didn't want to have all sheet metal, and I only had sheet metal machines. I didn't want to have a whole bunch of welders everywhere else and no fab stuff, or no machining stuff. So I think making it a basic space, but it can be used for a lot of different things. And I think that was like the ag room, trying to make it just like a big box with lots of storage and some lab space. We ended up with some great stainless steel tables that are great lab spaces. But I think keeping that in mind that it's a long-term facility and to make it as basic as possible, but with all the like counter space and storage space that you could ever imagine, and add extra closet storage because there's endless amounts of things that you need storage for that you don't realize. That was also helpful, I think, for us, just for utilizing our space was storage. Outside of that, I mean, I don't review your documents with other people, have them look at your blueprints, because sometimes architects push it in front of you and you don't know what you're looking at. And it's nice to have, like I had Don Schmidt look at my set of plans to see what facilities, if he would change it, if he understood the flow of student management. That's the other thing that architects don't understand is student management. They think like this school was built like a community college, and high school students don't they don't act like community college students. So there's lots of spaces in our school that are hidden that you can't manage them in those spaces. And I think the shop and the greenhouse and the ag room are kind of a big box that you can see student manage. You can just see what kids are doing all the time. And I think that's probably the best advice, is make it so that you can manage students and then you can make products. I think that's probably the biggest thing for me. Anything else? Okay. Ask for the moon, see what you get. Your kids, hard to put in, like if you don't ask for electrical outlets, you're never going to get them in later. So you might as well ask for them now.
Great
All the
advice,
plumbing.
thank you.
Yep.
All the plumbing. Phil, Lynn, any additional questions?
I don't have any.
Nothing more for me. Great tour, you guys. Thanks for taking the time.
Of course, our pleasure.
Well, Allison, Liberty, thank you. We'll post this online so folks can review it afterwards. I know we lost a little bandwidth in there a little bit, but overall it was great. So we appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and have a good rest of your evening.
Cool. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.